Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special emergency board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District on Thursday, December 31st, 2020 at 3:04 p.m. Here. I'd like to officially call us to order. We are on the Sunshine Regional District is located on the traditional territories of the Squamish and the Stickley First Nations, and we're very grateful to be here. We have a special emergency agenda in front of everyone today. For anyone that may be listening or watching this later, it is located on the Regional District website underneath our agendas. So I am going to ask for a motion to adopt this special emergency agenda, please. So moved, Director Toth, seconded Director Seegers. Any further, well, because it's a special emergency board meeting, we can't add anything to it. So I'm going to ask to call the question. All those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Motion carries. And thank you, Director Beamish. We have no minutes or business arising from the minutes or presentations or delegations. The main reason or the reason for this meeting is regarding the reports that are on Annex A, pages 1 through 2 of our package. Before I turn it over to staff, I'm going to ask for a motion to receive the reports, please. So moved, Director McMahon, seconded Director Seegers. All those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. So I'm going to forward it over to staff. I'm assuming GM Rosenboom, this is you're going to explain to us what's going on and why we're here today. And before we continue, I'd like to thank everyone for being here on such short notice. This meeting was just called earlier today, this afternoon, actually, I guess, very, very quickly. And but it's an extremely time-sensitive meeting, important issue. So over to GM Rosenboom, please, to explain the purpose of why we're here.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sorry to have to call you back at the end of the year. And not in 2021. Wasn't intended for all of us to be here again today. Reason is that there are some further developments with respect to the landslide that was first identified on September 18th. And what I will do is, prior to me going through the report, I have a couple of slides to give you some idea about what we're actually talking about in terms of the landslide itself. And then I can talk about next steps. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope everybody's able to see it right now.
Yes, it looks good, Remco.
Yeah. So this is what we call Reservoir Road, Seasheld, the gravel mine Lehigh, and then the access road to our water treatment plant. And from the water treatment plant, there is a path, trail, small road going up to our old intake, which has been decommissioned some decades ago. And then the water main is going all the way to about here, where we have our current intake from our treatment plant. So there's a main going from this location to this, crosses the Chapman Creek here, and then goes to the treatment plant. At this location, there was on December 19th, we were notified by local residents that there was a landslide in the area. Staff in the early evening visited the site and identified the spot of the landslide. And later in the evening, our manager of the TP came off, also went up there to confirm the nature of the slide. These are pictures from Sunday morning, 20th. Here you see a bridge. Maybe it's hard to see, but there is a bridge here crossing Chapman Creek with a big water main attached to it. It's a meter wide. No, 3 feet wide, sorry. And that main splits into two mains about here, and both mains are going underneath this road. and pathway, whatever you call it. And this is the area of the landslide. This is and this is the workshop Creek. This side slope is about 100 degrees, so steep, and the width of the landslide area is
No.
about 6 meters.
No.
Sorry, Remco, that you're breaking up a bit.
And I'm Director Beamish. I'm just going to mute you for a moment, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Remco. You were breaking up a little bit there.
Okay, I'm hoping I'm better right now.
Yes.
Okay, so on the top it's about 5-6 meters wide, and so our water mains are about a meter and a half located away from this upper crack. That's where our first water main is, and the second one is parallel to that. So at the time we went there, we didn't identify any damage to the area, but of course, if this would go further, it could undermine our water mains, and as a result, we would have to shut them off, and we would lose our water supply to our Chapman Creek water treatment plant. So the next morning, we had our geotech coming out, and they advised us as an immediate measure to cover at least the area with poly. So that's what we did. We put a lot of poly around it to make sure that the ground was not that much impacted anymore by direct rain. And here you can see, this is a picture of downslope, so you can see all the debris and Chapman Creek at the bottom. So far, we have not been able to confirm what has caused this, what triggered this landslide. What we know is that the area is extremely wet at the moment. It's really soggy here, so that means it's oversaturated. We've never seen that in this extent before. And there are some trees, at least one, and potentially a second big top of another tree that are in the debris field, and we don't know if they are, the tree overtopping has resulted the instability of the ground, or that the instability, the landslide itself, triggered the tree to fall over. So we don't know what the cause-effect relationship is there. But it's clear that the area is very saturated and as a result very unstable given the steep degree of angle. So the immediate need for us is to ensure that if there is any further sloughing to happen in the area, that our water mains are not impacted. So the immediate need is to reinforce those mains to ensure that there is, if there would be any further landsliding in this area, there would be no impact to the mains. A long-term plan, and I'm talking upcoming years, is to assess the entire length of this trail along the bank, and see what's needed to prevent these things from happening also in this area and other spots. Yeah, I'll stop sharing the screen. So we worked with a geotech consultant to assess the situation and prepare a plan. There were several site meetings with consultant and some subcontractors to see what we can do in the small space available. And the current plan is to enforce the water mains, to tie them to a big beam, metal beam that we would connect outside of the sloped area to the ground, so that the water mains can be tied to the main. So if there will be erosion or landslides underneath it, the water mains would hang attached to those beams. The current cost estimate is in excess of $100,000. So that actually triggered this board meeting, because of course I don't have the authority to execute any contracts or award any projects over that value without your authorization. And then, unless in immediate situation, current situation, we are currently expecting that we're in a position to award the contract in upcoming days so that the work can start next week. So that's the current plan. So fingers crossed in the upcoming days with all the rain that's in forecast that there's no further deterioration of the situation outside. We hope to be able to, following report support, to remediate the area, at least the immediate risk next week. And more than happy to answer any questions because I assume there will be.
Okay, thank you very much, GM Rosenboom. I'm going to go over to ask for questions. First up, I have Director Seegers. Director Beamish, I am going to unmute you. You may wish to use the mute function on your phone if there's sound in your background, but I will unmute you here so we can hear you if you do have a question. But first over to Director Seegers.
So I'm familiar with that area. I've walked that a number of times. That's a very narrow area there. And I mean, have we done the geotechnical work to ensure that we can actually take equipment in there to remediate that or put those in without actually causing a landslide?
Thank you for the question. It's a good question. Was one of the questions that was top of mind as well. That was one of the reasons that we met on site, staff met on site yesterday with all the contractors involved to ensure that it actually would work and that equipment would be brought on site and selected such that they can actually perform the work on site given the site constraints without indeed causing the landslide a further deterioration of the situation to occur. And yes, we can with small excavators, etc. We are confident that that it can be done.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mayor Beamish.
Yep, go ahead, Director Beamish.
I guess it's just the overriding concern of the weather warning we're faced with for the next 24 hours. Is there anything that can be done as a immediate step? We're looking at 40 to 60 millimeters of water each day for the next 2 days, and that's pretty significant.
Yeah, thank you for the question. We've been on high alert since last week in terms of daily monitoring twice. Sometimes we're monitoring twice a day, and it will continue in the upcoming days to see if there's anything needed. At the moment, we've worked with our geotechnical group to see if there's anything that can be done immediately. And they're like, everything you do now would most likely deteriorate the situation because you're going to destroy the soil and only could make it worse than it is right now. So if you go in, you need to go in full in and remediate the entire area. And, so that's our current focus. And the lead time is primarily between now and then we can do the work is because of the sourcing of materials. There is a need to make some custom made fittings, and the metal beam will need to be hauled in from the lower mainland, and that's actually in the midst of Christmas and New Year. That's actually what's triggering that it would take about a week from when the contract is signed to actually do the work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Director Seegers and then Director Toth.
So I know that we're hoping everything goes well. Do we have a backup plan if it doesn't, for provision of water or, you know, some kind of emergency water supply for most of the Sunshine Coast?
Thank you for the question. It's a question that one of the other questions that was top of my mind after I first got wind of this situation, because situation is that we have two mains there. So if one of them would be impacted, we still would be able to use the second main to provide water to a treatment plant. Of course, we still have a significant amount in water in our reservoirs to supply the community. And we've prepared Great Creek as well as Chester Well in Elphinstone to be put online very quickly after anything would occur. That would be not sufficient to provide the entire community with water. That's will provide some water to the community, but not entirely. So we are in contact with the health authorities, VCH, but also the hospital outside of Vancouver Coast Health, as well as with EMBC, etc., other organizations to be prepared for what its worst case scenario would be reality.
Okay, over to Director Toth, please.
Thank you. I guess I've got two questions, and I'll ask them both, and you can answer them sort of however you want. How deep are the pipelines buried under that trail roadway system? It's been a long time since I've been up there, so I'm not totally sure. And then the other question is, would this beam basically be a temporary fix? Given how narrow that area is there any chance that we're going to have to look longer term at relocating these mains entirely?
Okay.
Okay, I will first ask, thank you for the questions. The mains are located meter 20, so about 3-4 feet. They differ a little bit in size. And are 1.5-2 feet in diameter, both. In terms of long-term plan, I think that's part of the, yes, this is a temporary solution. This is not a permanent solution. So this will give us several years to figure out what else to do. This path, road, trail was first established back in the 60s and has not been really assessed from geotechnical perspective since. There has never been any issue on this side. So it is concerning why this is happening right now. So we first have to look at that. What is triggering this? What could have triggered this? Could it happen more along that reach? What would it require to stabilize the entire area? And there might be some possibilities there before we even get to the point about relocating this main, because there are not a lot of other options to relocate this main at this moment.
Okay. Director Toth, does that take care of your questions? Okay. Directors, any further questions for staff? Director Hiltz.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to understand, so the original displacement was December 19th, and there has been nothing since December 19th, or is it kind of, are we in an incremental situation now?
Thank you for the question. The area, days after the original event, we covered the area with plastic poly to ensure that there is, to limit the exposure to rain. And we put a drain up on the road to take away as much runoff water as we can from the area as well. Since the initial gap has increased, so there has been some movement in the area, and there's been also some further erosion road inwards, but that has been pretty minimal. When I say minimal, it's insignificant. We're monitoring that on a daily basis. So there's no big change at the moment. It's all to be expected, but it will be the upcoming days with the big rain that will tell us more about how much movement is there in the area. But based on the observations from staff yesterday on site, the area is still unstable.
Okay. Director Hiltz, that takes care of your question. Okay. Director Seegers.
Thank you. When are we going to start communicating with the public?
There has been, I think, our press release, or at least Facebook post, has been posted earlier today. And we will keep them appraised moving forward. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have this meeting as well, to start to make the public, to provide the opportunity for the public and the media to be aware of what's going on. In worst case scenario, we have a communication plan ready to implement when things are going badly. And I think the CEO has something to add to this.
Yeah, I see the CAO had his hand up. Over to you, CAO McKinley.
Thank you for the opportunity just to provide a tiny bit of extra context. Also, our manager of communications engagement was also in touch with the Coast Reporter earlier today to give them a heads up on both the scheduling of this emergency meeting and provide additional context to the information that was provided previously. We do have some additional information to go out on Facebook, but we've got some additional information for Aiden to share with the Coast Reporter as well, to try to get the word out as quickly as we can.
Yeah, there's two components here that I see, right? One is to make the community aware that potentially there's something that we may have to call on them for, depending how it goes. But the other is to have them recognize the work that the regional district is doing behind the scenes, to shore up the situation and ensure that we have water, right? We're, working through the holidays to make sure that, that's not interrupted. So two pieces of that, it's important to get that information out.
Beamish?
Yes, Director Beamish.
Yeah, I just wonder in terms of our interface from Gibson's to SRD water, has any discussion been held with our CAO and Director of Engineering relative to the potential that we might be able to supply water into the regional area if necessary?
Good question, Director Beamish. I'll CAO or GM Rosenboom.
Thank you for the question. I've made Director of Engineering, Officer Shield, and Director of Infrastructure Services from Town of Gibson's aware of the situation last week. Haven't followed up with him since on the issue of providing water the other way around from the town to the district. I know there are some infrastructure limitations to that, but I would need to explore that further. So there might be an option there, but I'm not sure if the current infrastructure will allow for a large volume to be distributed to the SRD.
CAO McKinley.
And just as a tiny follow-up, there was no discussion around using the Gibson system, but the EOC director did send out an update on the situation through a situation report from the EOC to the policy group, which includes myself and the other CAOs yesterday.
To follow up, I think it would be worthwhile exploring that in the short term, just to see if there was a need, rather than have to start from no plan, just to see if that can be done.
Thank you for the invite, and I will connect with Director of Infrastructure Services from the town after this meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Director Toth.
Thank you. You mentioned that we've got staff checking on it a couple times a day. In the event that fails, or in the event that we have a failure up there, not during an inspection period, how quickly would we know? And do we have the ability to remotely shut down those mains? Because I expect those intakes would do a lot of damage to that hillside really fast if there was a breach.
Okay, GM Rosenboom.
Thank you. Good question. We would notice it, I think, within seconds, because our pressure in the main would drop, and all alarms bells would go off on all operator cell phones. Our system will identify that within seconds. Ability to shut off the mains. The part to the treatment plant we can do automatically, but the area in question would have to be shut off by hand. And early last week, all operators were notified and trained on which mains to shut off in the event of. So we will be able to do that within half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. But yes, there will be a lot of water flowing through those mains if one of them would break.
And just Director Toth first, does that answer your question? Okay. And then just a follow-up to Director Seeger's comments that our communications team did communicate the issue when it first occurred, and then an additional update after this meeting will be going out as soon as it's completed. So so that'll go out to the public and to media. So okay. Do I see any other questions from the directors to staff?
Mayor Beamish?
Go ahead, Director Beamish.
Yeah, so just one other question, and assume it's been covered, but off the fire departments, some of them I suspect have a holding capacity for water just in case it was necessary. Those should be filled.
Yeah, thank you for the question. All fire departments, there's been communication with the fire departments, and they are all aware of the fact that they might need other water supply sources, and they are trained for that if the water would be a water supply.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, terrific. Okay, so thank you very much, GM Rosenboom, for the report. Was there anything else before we go to the? We do have I have some wording for the motion has to be a little bit different than what it appeared in our report. So, Director Seegers, were you going to be motivating the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to read out the motion because there's just a slight change to it. And then there's a further that. So, so the motion is that staff be authorized to spend up to $200,000 to be funded from 370 regional water operating reserves, while every means of cost recovery through Emergency Management BC will be explored, and further that the delegated authorities be authorized to sign a contract associated with the project.
I'll move that.
Oh, before we just hang on, CFO.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What I'm just realizing is that because this is taking effect December 31st, we'll just have to include it in our 2021-2025 financial plan. And so if we could just add that the 2021-2025 financial plan be amended accordingly.
Okay. So, okay. So, CO, do you have that, corporate officer? Okay, so, and everyone is clear that it's $200,000 from number 370 regional water operating reserves, with every means of cost recovery through Emergency Management BC to be explored, that the delegated authorities be authorized to sign a contract associated with the project, and the 2021 to 2025 financial plan be amended. Is that correct? Great. Okay. And Director Seegers has motivated that. May I have a seconder, please? Director Toth. Any further discussion to the motion that is on the floor? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And and corporate officer, just to confirm, this is a corporate vote, correct? Or is this for service areas only?
No, thank you, Chair. This is a corporate weighted vote.
A corporate weighted vote. And so all users of the service, or all users, or all
directors present may vote, and it is a weighted vote. Area E2, Area A2, Area B2, SIGD 1, 2 for Area F, 3 for District of Seashelt, another 3 for District of Seashelt, and 3 votes for the town of Gibson's.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Corporate Officer. I appreciate that. Once again, I will call the question. All those in favor?
In favor.
In favor, Director Beamish as well. Okay, and any opposed? I didn't see any opposed. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you all to staff, to all of our staff and our infrastructure services staff and EOC staff that is working very diligently, and communications, IT, everyone. GM Rosenboom, I saw that you unmuted yourself. Did you have something you wanted to add? No? Okay. CAO McKinley, anything to add? EOC Director / HR, Mr. Parker? No? CFO, CO, anything to add? Okay. All right. So we have no further communications. We have no motions. We don't have bylaws. Sherry, I'm so disappointed you didn't sneak one in there. No directors. Directors reports. I'm just going to say, everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It is nice to see you on the last day of the year. We have no business. We're not going in camera, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn, please. So moved and seconded. All those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Motion carries. And I'm going to echo Director Seegers said, thank you for the proactive and ongoing communications. That's very helpful. And thank you to everyone for doing that. And thank you to staff and for everyone continuing to work and make sure that our coast is safely receiving water through the holiday season. So with that, we don't have any members of the public in the audience that I can see. So unless Aiden has a question or wants anything from us before. But otherwise, we're adjourned. So,
Thank you. Happy New Year.
thank you, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.